Hello people, what's up? Welcome to the second instalment of the Snake Room. I'm Liam with Twisted Royals. Welcome. Just make sure you can hear me. Give me a yes in the comments. That'd be great. And then we can also see who we've got in here today. Wicked. Hello people. See comments. Wicked. What's up, you in? Toby, how you doing? What's that? Jay and Rolls, evening, welcome. So just quickly, I mentioned a giveaway last week, 1,000 followers on Instagram, which I've hit, which is all good. Thank you very much. And then 250 subscribers to YouTube. So I'm about 190 away, which, it's not that far. We can do that in probably, I don't know, a month or so. So yeah, once I reach 250 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away quite a lot of merch, probably to, three different winners, I reckon. So yeah, once I hit 250, I'll do a video on YouTube, and that will be where you post your comments, and then I'll do a random generator on the comments, and then we'll give away some free merch. Talking of merch, big shout to Toby, Morph Matrix. Thanks for the t-shirt, mate. Fits well. Also, anyone want a sticker swap? I had loads of people message me last week. If you want a sticker swap, hit me up. DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll get that sorted out. So yeah, let's get into it. Our guest this week is Eddie from Sunbury Serpents. So let's get him on. Welcome, Eddie. How you doing, mate?
I'm very good. Thanks. How are you, Liam?
So I am terrific. Terrific. So where we at? Just let me do something. There you go. Wicked. Back to the comments. So this week, obviously, we've had some good news. We might get a Doncaster show back on in June. So I know you're a guy who likes to get out and about. I've watched your YouTube videos. Great news. Hopefully all this COVID shit is going to be done soon, and we can actually get out to a show, which I can't wait for. How about
you know what? Yeah, I can't. For me, I was a slow starter with Donny. I kind of it took me a little while, because I always thought, I live 3 hours away, so I always thought, it's a bit of a mission. But I didn't really know what I was missing. And then I went with my friend Tony Hersey, and the first time I got there, all of a sudden he started introducing me to all these different people whose names I knew, but didn't know what they looked like. So it was like putting names to face, putting faces to names. Sorry, and it was an eye opener. It was lovely to see so many people, so many enthusiastic reptile keepers and breeders, and it was wicked, and I kind of went up there and I bought all sorts of stuff. I mean, more sort of, like big bottles of F10 and bedding and Vivs and all this different equipment that I don't know if I necessarily needed any of it. I was in the moment, and I kind of went, my God, this is amazing. It's like going to Costco for the first time. I just went, this is wicked, and there's loads of wicked people. And then the next time I went with Adam from TA Exotics. And it was even better, because obviously he's got quite a decent YouTube following and knows so many people. So we got up there, and all of a sudden we're talking to Paul Milner, talking to Gav from Balls to You, and it was just like, bloody hell, all these people are like big in the hobby, and it was wicked. And then I've only ever bought a couple of animals from Donny, but I think they were kind of pre-purchased pickups. but yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to this COVID rubbish going away, so we can all get back to normal. Because as you know, I love to get out and I love to see people. I love to see everyone's collections. And I'm the kind of person, you can see by my YouTube videos, and if I get on Instagram, I can't stop talking because I love snakes, I love animals, and I love people with enthusiasm for animals.
Yeah, my Donny experience is probably the same as yours. When I first went, my then girlfriend was like, "You can't buy any more animals." I had 2 snakes, I weren't allowed anymore, so I probably ended up coming back with like £100 worth of Aspin. that's all I bought, and then like a cuddly toy for the kids, I reckon. So yeah. So
Yeah.
you said you're 3 hours away. Whereabouts are you based?
I'm actually. There used to be a reptile show where I'm based, so I live opposite Kempton Racecourse, and there used to be an IHS show at Kempton, but obviously I think animal rights activists, the Jockey Club, they all kind of got to they came to loggerheads, and the show got cancelled. Every now and then they do. Well, in fact, I think the last one I went to last year wasn't snakes; it was arachnids. So it was all sorts of.
Okay.
All sorts of other things, which I've had snakes. I've had spiders in the past, but I've really kind of evolved to just keeping snakes, and so yeah, it's not as big as it used to be, of course. So no massive meeting, and for me that would have been great because I'd go, I'm off to Kempton, and I just walk over the road, and I'm there. Yeah. But yeah, it's like a 6-hour round trip to go to Donny, but worth it every time.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a few times now, and yeah, it gets better every time I go. To be honest, have you done any of the international shows like Ham?
I haven't. No, I mean, I've always wanted to go to Ham and Houghton. I know things obviously with Brexit, everything's going to be a bit different now. So in a good way, I think, and I'll maybe touch on that later. But and the other thing, Adam from T Exotics, Adam and myself have got together quite a number of times, and we've always discussed going over to America to one of these massive shows in America, so I can walk along and I'd go, oh look, yeah, Tinley. So exactly, going to Tinley for a long weekend, fly over there. It's not going to be the cheapest trip in the world, but I might get to meet Ozzy Boyd and Justin Kabilka and Billy, and all these and Brian Barczyk and all these people who are kind of big in the hobby, I suppose you could say. But yeah, I'd love to do something like that, but never done it.
Yeah, the people we see on our TV, obviously the American breeders. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't really watch a lot of TV. I just watch YouTube all the time.
There's a lot of good stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
There is. Yeah. Especially them American folk. So let's go back. How did you actually get started in the hobby, or like, was it did you have like reptiles as a child or anything like that, or?
So I basically my parents were always they were against having too many pets. When I was younger, I think the first pet our family had, which was my little sister's, was a budgie or something. So it was quite a simple pet. We had rabbits, but unfortunately discovered that foxes quite enjoy rabbits, so we lost all of those. And my first experience of a snake was when I was at a birthday party when I was 7, one of these reptile parties, and I had an enormous red-tailed boa put around my neck. And as soon as it went around my neck, I mean, obviously I was petrified. It went around the neck, and I just went, I think I want to get a snake. And that was my introduction to being that close to such a big reptile. So then I pushed and persuaded my mum to let me have a corn snake. But that was when I was 9. So it was a 2-year gap of me like pressuring my parents and trying to make it happen. So all the way back then, when I was 9, I had a corn snake, really leery little corn snake. It was brilliant, but he was leery. I kept escaping because I was just a terrible keeper and didn't really understand how easy it was to get them out, for them to escape. And then I had a bit of an exodus from after the corn, who actually went to live with a friend of mine. And I think he was about 8 years old when he went to live with a friend of mine, and he's still going now, and he's still living with my mate. I went away from it, and work took over, and then college and everything else. and I sort of moved away from them for a really long time, and then life kind of took a massive turn, and I ended up living in Southeast Asia. So I went traveling, went out, lived in Thailand. Obviously, my wife's from Thailand, so I was out there. I was out there hunting snakes and looking for amazing inverts. And I mean, I found cobras, I found berms, I found all sorts of incredible animals, incredible snakes. And when I was like, when we get back to the UK, I'm going to get myself an animal. So when we got back, due to living in a place with not enough space, I couldn't have one. Then we kind of upgraded, and I had enough space. So I went out and got a snake. Got a ball python, got a female. She was a normal, beautiful normal. And I said to myself, I'm just going to have the one, as we all do. And one turned into two, which was a lesser het clown from Tony Hersey. Then that turned into 3 and 4 and 5. And before you know it, my wife's going, you're not allowed any more snakes. You've got to have yourself somewhere outside the house to keep them. And I mean, this was 7 years ago. Well, no, 8 years ago, in fact. And in that 8-year period, I went from one very quickly to about I suppose now I'm in the region of about 176, 170, I think. Wow. I do a quick count. So I've got a lot, but as you know, I've got a lot of hatchlings. So I've got these racks behind me. So I've got 120 V18s, LP V18s. The one on the left-hand side is completely full. The one on the right-hand side has about 20 tubs free, and all of them bar 2. So I've got up there. I've got an Enchi Desert Coast female and a lesser pastel. What's that? An Enchi lesser pastel het clown female from Ridgeway Exotics. Otherwise, everything in these racks are produced. Like last year, I had a mad year, had 14 clutches, and I've never had such a big year. My first year, I had 1. My second year, I had 3. Yeah. And I've always been a bit scared of going over that number because I didn't know whether I could deal with it or not. Because the room I'm standing in right now was basically my rodent room. So I had loads. I was breeding multis and rats, and I was selling them to people. And that was my thing. I used to love it. I spend all my time in the rodent room, and I had a small collection of snakes I could look after easily. And so kind of that's the adult room, if you like. So I've got an FB40, I've got a V35, and then on that side, I've got this 33-litre rack, which is absolutely brilliant and covered in these dodgy-looking plastic lumps.
Is that the same sort of rack as Adam's got from TA?
It's exactly, yeah. So the racks themselves came from Darren Hughes, Neighbours Constrictors, and I had been talking to him for a while and saying that I needed to. I suppose it was a matter of I had this enormous Freedom Breeder rack. It was like I bought it from a guy in Dorking who had venomous animals, and he had Gaboon Vipers, he had Gila monsters, and I bought it from him because he was selling it, and it was great. 23. What was it? Oh no, it was a 21 tub rack, but the tubs were, almost 2.5 times deeper than a V70, same length, same width, and they were just too big. I found a lot of my females didn't enjoy being in them. You have to have a big hide at one end, a big hide at the other, and a small water bowl in the middle, just so they felt comfortable, and you kind of gave them less space. So I spoke to Darren a number of times, and I went to his place. I went to see him and Eric, and I saw his racks, and I saw his snakes, and every single tub he opened, he had this beautiful, perfectly shaped, perfectly rounded, healthy-looking animal. And I look at mine and think of mine and go, I've got like 5 or 6 who just don't eat. And I bought these, but he sorted it out for a friend of his. I bought these racks, and he, bless the guy, he's an absolute legend. He's an amazing person. He's probably one of the most amazing humans in this hobby. And he drove all the way from his place to mine just to set these up. So obviously I had to feed him a nice big Thai barbecue. But we set these up. They're the smoke tubs. I put all my snakes in them, all my males and my female adults in them. And I did a feed about a week and a half later, and every single one smashed the rack. Every single one without fail. These are like, half of them are on multis, and I was like, oh, let's just give it a try. They all murdered rats, and they're all still going. And I've then found that the FB40s are a great addition because they're still quite dark. You know, they're a slim, quite dark tub. The humidity levels in are great. The temperature, I've got 11-inch heat plates. They're really good. But then I put a few overspill males into the V35, which are clear tubs, and all of them have gone off food.
Right, yeah. I've got the V35s, and
yeah,
out of all of them, they're the one I don't like the most. I mean, I don't mind the ones you've got behind the 18s or the 70s. Yeah. They're all clear, but for some reason, I just don't like the V35s. So I'm probably going to change them out and get the 40s, I think, the FB40s, and go that route.
Yeah. Well, I think the V35s are kind of like a square tub almost.
Yeah.
They just don't quite work. I mean, I've only got 6-inch heat mats on those. So you've got a much smaller, you know, I'm going to be selling that rack, and they've got a much smaller heat panel. And with the FB40s, with the 11-inch, they've got that really good temperature gradient. So they've got a really nice, warm hotspot that they can sit on that sits somewhere around 28, 29 degrees, which seems to be perfect for them. And the cool end is pretty much the same temperature as it is in here, which is about 27. Well, that's not 27. It's more like 26.5, 26. And that they just seem to work for me. So the grey tubs, the smoke tubs are absolutely brilliant. Mind you, the hatchlings, as you know, as long as and I give my hatchlings a much hotter hotspot. So I give my hatchlings 31, and that just keeps the feeding response good. It keeps them healthy. It keeps them happy. If I lower the temperature with the hatchlings, they're much more, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but they're much more susceptible to the possibilities of, you know, if you get a draft in here or it does suddenly drop in temperature outside, they're not going to have quite enough heat. So I give them extra amount of heat. And then most of them today, I'd say about 50% of them are sitting at the cool end. So it's warmer outside, it's warmer in here. I've just turned off my oil radiator for the first time. But that's it. Oil radiator goes off, electric bill goes down a bit. Whee!
Happy days, happy days. So do you start your hatchlings off in the V18s?
My hatchlings go straight into a V18. And they usually, I'll see if I can find one. I did put them somewhere. Basically, I use something like this, which is like it's dog food. I got them from a friend of mine who has a couple of dogs, and I cut a little entrance, and so they all have a little hide. They have a bigger water bowl, and I don't seem to have any issues. I had one female I'm really lucky. One female this year who didn't want to eat, so I just fed her 4 meals, and then one day she just smacked her rat off the tongs. And then that was it. Absolutely fine. I've had no issues with having to feed live or anything like that. And so I've had a really lucky year, to be honest.
Yeah,
with the baby.
Sounds it. Yeah, I start with the V15s. And the feeding response in them is great. So I don't think I'd ever change. You said your first royal was a normal, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You got it?
I haven't actually, no, and that's one of the things, you know, I think, and I know so many people who still have their first animal, and I think I got to the point, you know, where she grew up, she was a beautiful girl, she was always really calm, but as I started to develop my collection and start to build this idea of, you know, I want to go down this route, I want to have certain animals, but I have a limited number of tubs to put them in, I had to make sacrifices. And, you know, I went down the clown route straight away. It was like everything het clown. I ended up getting my motley clown female, who is currently looking enormous, but she's locked up in her tub at the moment. I got a couple of clown females and a load of het stuff, and I just kind of went for it. But having not enough space, I had to let her go. I do regret it. And my son's always saying, "Oh, where's?" Because I named her Coraline. Oh, my son named her Coraline, and he's always like, "Where's Coraline? Is Coraline still in there?" And I have to say, you know, she went off to live with somebody else. But you know,
it wasn't all that long ago then.
No.
Okay.
No, you know, and I don't. I guess for me, it's like I've got so much going on in here now. you know, and
Yeah.
I remember her, and I've got pictures of her when she was a baby, and I've got pictures of her as she grew up, and as she was kind of the first, especially the first royal for my son to see. He became quite attached, and it was difficult for him to accept that she wasn't here until I showed him a banana pewter, and he went, "Oh, I want that one instead." And that sort of then that was it. So now we have this banana pewter, and that's his, and I'm not allowed to let the banana pewter go, and it's just yeah, 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 it's
Yeah.
cool.
So, how's your season going? Um,
Yeah, it's not going too badly. It's not as manic as last year. I've rested the majority of the females who I bred last year. I have a couple of new females who I have paired who are showing very good signs. Some of them have reasonable sized follicles. And I had 3 maternal incubations last year. So those 3 females are 100% not going anywhere near a male for a while until they're
yeah.
physically back into condition, eating well, and I have all the signs that they're ready. But at the moment, I have 3 females who've ovulated, and I have 3 other females who I'm crossing my fingers will ovulate.
Excellent.
And I did have 7, but my leopard clown female is basically saying, nope, I'm going to wait for your black pastel lesser fire clown. So that's fine by me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wicked. Wicked. So let's talk about the maternal incubation, because I know I saw a video on your YouTube. That was guessing last year?
Yes, yeah, it was.
Yeah. That works for you, I'm guessing.
Well, you know, last year for maternal incubation, well, with regards to maternal incubations, last year was my first year of trying it. I'd seen a number of videos. I talked to a lot of breeders, you know, and I'd seek advice about it because I was interested. I just wanted to allow a couple of females to do it themselves. I felt like I had the right conditions in the room. You know, I've been in this room for a year. The temperatures were stable. Everything had kind of settled down, and I found, and I'd worked. Well, I had actually 6 months prior to start thinking about it. I'd been trying to work on the idea of doing ambient temperatures in the room. So all the temperatures in my racks have gone down slightly, but very gradually, you know, like literally zero point 0.3 of a degree, zero point 0.3 of a degree once every couple of weeks, to the
Yeah.
point where I got to a nice level, and they were still feeding. They were all healthy. They still are. And it seemed like the right time. So I had Hidden Gene Woma, het clown female, who I sort of earmarked. You know, she was a 2.9 kilo girl. She'd been bred by a banana pastel clown. So she was kind of the first choice I'd had. You know, she's an old girl. She's given me 3 clutches in the past. So I felt like she was an experienced mum, and I think, well, experienced at laying eggs at least, you know. So I gave her a chance. I thought I'd give her a chance. So I've been given the advice to obviously to leave them alone as much as you possibly can. Put a really nice, you know, sort of if and I did it really meticulously in that I knew when they'd ovulated. I had all the dates down. So I had a kind of a window after the prelay shed. I had a window to clean out the substrate, put fresh ReptiChip into the tub, nice kind of not soaked, but nice and damp ReptiChip all across the tub. And then I put sphagnum. I put the water bowl in the middle, and I put sphagnum moss at the cool end. You know, about sort of 3 or 4 inches of sphagnum moss, which I opened the tub twice during incubation, or maybe 3 times, and sprayed that. But otherwise, just left her alone. So you would have seen the YouTube video when I did my first thing of kind of opening the tub and having a look. Was very reluctant, but she's a very calm mum. She was very chilled. She didn't strike at me. She didn't get angry. She just sat on the eggs. She protected her eggs. And then I had that amazing point where I opened the tub. And in fact, it was my wife who opened the tub and sent me a picture at work of the Hidden Gene Woma het clown's head kind of looking up, going, "What are you looking at? What are you doing in my tub?" And underneath was this egg with the head of a banana pastel clown sticking out, which was just, it was amazing. But as well as that Hidden Gene Woma het clown female, I got to, and it was only about 3 weeks after she laid that my pinstripe het daddy female laid eggs. And she's like Satan when she's sitting on a clutch. If you open the tub, she'll happily leave the eggs and come and rip your face off. I mean, she's, you know, and then go back to her eggs. So I thought, rather than disturb her and possibly get tagged, I'll just get a bag of sphagnum moss. I'll drop it in the front, and that's it. And it just and it really it was just fantastic. My third, I say I had 3 maternal incubations. The final one was, the plan was to do my pastel red stripe female, who was bred by my entry splatter Migraine, and she gave me 5 perfect eggs. And I thought, okay, great. She was she was a sort of, not a virgin, but she'd never laid a clutch for me before, so it was a risky one. And I went in about a week after she'd laid the clutch, and 3 of the eggs had just rolled, and she kicked them out. She was sitting there, obviously thinking, "What? Where's my dinner? Where are you going to give me some food?"
Yeah.
So I lifted her up very carefully, put the eggs back in, put her back down. She went back onto the eggs. But the problem was, is I had to open the tub all the time to see what was going on. So, 3 or 4 openings into her maternal incubation, she just kept kicking the eggs out. So luckily I had the incubator on as a backup. So I took the eggs out, put them in the incubator, and they were absolutely fine. And I hatched the most incredible babies from it, which, in hindsight, I look at and think, I'm glad I had the incubator, because if I hadn't had the incubator, I may have lost some eggs, which would have been devastating for mum and for me.
Yeah. Do you when she lays, do you have to check the eggs for slugs?
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of, I did a very quick visual check without disturbing the mum too much, because obviously what was recommended, and this was recommended by all the people I know who I spoke to regarding maternal incubations, they said just have a really quick check, lift them up very carefully. If you find any slugs, peel them away and take them out. But as I said, for my miracle season, I'll call it, last year, I had absolutely none. So it was just, I think the pinstripe het daddy laid 9 eggs, the hidden gene woma het hound laid 8, and obviously the other one that didn't quite work, the pastel red stripe, she laid 5.
Yeah. So when you moved them to the incubator, did they all hatch and everything went well?
They did, yeah. So they basically, I switched the lights off, got my torch, candled the eggs, made sure the embryo was on top, put them into some, put basically into a tub in, I forget what I used now, like perlite. Put them in a tub with perlite, popped them in the incubator, and they were absolutely fine. I sort of, part of me was thinking, God, they're not going to hatch. I'm going to have an issue, because they've been rolled around so much. And every single one hatched, every single one's thriving, and they're probably, they're sort of 5 of the most beautiful babies I've got, which is great.
That's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
So did you offer the mum food at any point?
All of the mums were offered food whenever I did their little inspection. So I timed my opening the tub with a day when I was feeding the snakes.
Yeah.
So you open the tub, you offer them food, and it was always, I didn't go with multi. I didn't go with rats. I actually went with multis, because obviously they kind of, snakes seem to be more enticed and hypnotized when you hang a multi in front of them. So I went with a small multi, just to give them a little bit of food to keep them happy. But the pinstripe het daddy struck at the multi, and it just fell off the tongs, and the hidden gene woma just tucked their head into the coil. So no food. They didn't take any food at all. But after they'd maternally incubated and all the babies had been moved to a V18 to shed for the first time, both mums were taken out of their tubs, which were scrubbed clean, ceiling scrubbed clean, and they were both given a soapy bath, sort of a washing up liquid bath, if you like, and cleaned off of all the scent, and then both of them ate about a week after.
Excellent. Yeah. Can't ask for much more than that then, can you? That's
exactly.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's not something that some people don't want to do it, some people don't agree with it, some but I would recommend it. I think if you've got the right setup and you're very in tune with your room and with the temperatures, I think if you can, if you're willing to give it a try, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, you could pretty much guarantee that mum's going to be, and use an experienced mum, have a mum who's laid a couple of clutches for you in the past, who knows how it goes, and then just try not to disturb them too much. That'd be my only advice. But mum knows best. Mum will look after those eggs, and the babies will hatch, and it's a beautiful moment when you see them coming out of the coil.
Yeah, I might give it a few more seasons. I might give it a go myself. Yeah, I mean, it must be some experience. You must. I've heard other people say they've done it before, and their nerves are shot to bits doing it. Were you like that at all?
I don't think I was. I mean, and this actually this goes back again. This a lot of my sort of confidence going into it was the fact that I'd spoken to so many people, I'd done a bit of research, and I'd spoken to Darren at Neighbours Constrictors, who sort of, I remember he was telling me he's done it, and he said, look, there's nothing to worry about. These, they will look after this. The mum will look after the eggs. There's nothing you can do to intervene. Obviously, if they kick the eggs out, you have to take the eggs and put them in the incubator. But it was always mum knows best, and that was the advice I had. That was like the finishing note from everyone I spoke to. Mum knows best. You'll be absolutely fine, but just try not to disturb them too much.
Oh, yeah. Like I say, a few more years, I'll give that a go. Give it a bash.
You should. Definitely.
Reap the rewards. I mean,
exactly.
That must feel even more sweeter when you see them heads sticking out from under the mum. Yeah, I reckon that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a special moment, and I think I'm not. This is one of those debates. It's like cutting eggs, leaving eggs to pit by themselves, maternally incubating. All the babies who pit by themselves for the 2 maternal incubations, all of them are monster feeders. All of them came out so healthy. I can understand the sort of the want to cut eggs, the sort of the anticipation and the excitement overtakes everything. And the first thing you want to do is get to day 55 or day 60 or day 57, whichever day people prefer to cut, and just go for it. And as long as I would say to that, I prefer not to cut, but I would say if you do, I'm not against it at all. I just think you've got to just be really careful when you do it. That's it. Don't cut a bloody great big sunroof. Just cut a little slit and leave them in there. The sunroof thing annoys me, but that's the only thing that annoys me about cutting eggs. And I used to cut eggs. I'm not going to stand and sit on a high horse or anything at all, because each to their own. But I have cut eggs in the past, and I'll admit that. And it was purely because I just wanted to see what was in that egg. And everybody does, because you want to see what you've hit,
Yeah. I've cut eggs before. I mean, my first clutch, I didn't think any of them were alive, so I probably cut a tiny bit early. And lo and behold, I think 6 out of the 8 were alive. 2 of them died crawling out of the egg. I don't know if that had something to do with me cutting slightly early, but it was my first clutch. I learned, like the second one, I just left them all alone. And I only cut when the first one pipped, and I think that's what I'll stick to from going forward. Definitely stick to that. That was a good.
It's definitely a good measure. I think that's kind of that. I would say that is probably the best way to do it. Wait for the first one to pip, and then you kind of go, well, the others aren't going to be long after. It's usually not. You might get one. In the past, I've had one pip, and I've sort of gone, I've cut the rest, or I said one will pip, and I'll let them all pip and see what happens. So I varied it season on season, and one will pip on day 52, and the other one will pip on day 62. And you're sitting there going, God, what should I do? What should I do? I'm desperate to cut that egg open to see if that baby's alive. And sometimes it does, sometimes you do save lives. Sometimes you do save these snakes.
Yeah.
I did a number of videos with Billy where he's had an umbilical wrapped around the snake's neck.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. But each to their own. As I say, each to their own. If it works for you, that's fine. As long as you're sort of conscious and sensible about it, that's fine.
Yeah. Do you breed all year round, or do you stick to the season?
I try to stick to the seasons. My idea was always I start pairing in the beginning of October. So I had an early season last year. This season, because of my new job, I've not really focused on the breeding side of things much. But what I do is I put the male in at the beginning of October, and I mark that down, and I have I put it on my notes on my phone. So I have a list of all the pairings, and I'll just put a date. If I witness a lock, I'll just write lock. And I put the male in. If I see a lock, I won't put that male back in with that female for a month, and then I will feed as normal the male and the female like I do with all the others until the male decides, look, I'm breeding, I don't want to eat, I need to focus on the females, and then that's fine as long as they're of a good size. And usually I breed from October until they give me eggs, and then that's it. But the breeding all year round, I think I'd need to get myself an aircon unit in here, and I've got a heater, I've got a wall heater, but having an in the summer it gets so hot in here, I just turn the racks off. It's just mad. I mean, it's insulated incredibly well, and I don't like my room getting anywhere above 80. And with the racks on, it's just an oven in here. So I switch them all off when it's really hot for that kind of 2 or 3 week period, and then I start to creep the temperature back up.
Yeah. Wow, that must get hot in there. Jeez.
Oh, I'm literally, my t-shirt's starting to stick.
Yeah. So how many breeder females do you actually have, roughly?
Okay, breeder females, I can count. Okay, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've got about 25.
Okay. Decent number, decent. Yeah. Would you ever consider getting ultrasound? Or have you got one?
I have. I basically, again, with Tony Hersey, because I know him really well, he lives fairly locally to me. He actually bought an ultrasound, brought it over to me, and then told me that we didn't have the correct, what's it called? What would you call it? The correct, the probe. That's the one. That's the word. He said we didn't have the correct probe, but I've looked at a number of videos online, and they all have the same probe that I have, or that Tony has, and I still have his ultrasound. So my plan was actually, and I was thinking about this today, I was thinking I was going to bring it in here, plug it in, and just have a go. Get my wife in here to hold the snake in, hold the snake in a tub, and then just have a go at ultrasounding. And I think that's, and obviously the big American breeders, they all do it. There are some breeders in the UK who have now started to use ultrasound. And the key thing about it is, and I think it's a really good point, is that you know exactly when your females are starting to produce follicles. So you can put your males in at the opportune moment. Therefore, you're not just putting your males in and hoping something's going to happen for months and months and months. But it's the other thing kind of related to that is it does take a few seasons to learn the cycle of your females. So it does take, if you don't have an ultrasound, and God, I know hardly anyone's got one because they're so expensive. But if you don't, if you don't have one, you basically, and what I do, and what I've done in the past is I have put the males in. But because of the sort of 24, 25 females I've got who I can breed, I probably know about 15 of them quite well. And I know if they're an early goer or if they go late in the season. So generally, I will pair some of them slightly earlier. Some of them, my clan female, she always tends to go kind of midway through. She's not early or late. She's kind of in the middle. So I started pairing her a bit later this time round. But then I palpated her yesterday. And I got that nice surprise of like running her through the tissue and then going bump, 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 bump. And feeling the lumps and going, oh, Christ. But that's how I do it now. So I can palpate quite well. And,
I need
I tell you what, the key to it is a piece of tissue paper. I mean, you get a feeling of it on your hand as they run through your hand. You can feel, but there are various things in there. There might be poo or something like that, which you might mistake for an egg. And often, if you fed them a big meal, they might be there. But all I tend to do is I get a piece of tissue like that, basically cut it into a little square, or tear it into a little square, and that just goes on my palm. And then when the snake crawls over it, seems like the tissue just sort of acts as an extra indicator. It's bizarre. And as they run through your fingers, as long as you don't squeeze them too hard, and that's the thing, you've got to be it's kind of a gentle touch, but you squeeze more with your fingers. And as they run through, you get to the kind of the last third of the body. You're right, mate. How's it going? And they just cruise through, and you start to feel the bumps. Okay. But I can only really feel them. I can only really feel them when they're about half the size of a chicken egg, I suppose.
Okay. I'm going to give myself another go at that. Maybe tomorrow. Give that a try.
I think it's definitely worth it, and it does take time. It's exactly the same as popping, as popping a snake to sex them. That for me, I was always absolutely awful at popping snakes. It was like, oh, what's that, a male or a female? And I'd be like, oh, I'd I don't know, I can bend it, but I can't see anything. And then I watch Billy for Mutation Creation, and he just picks up a snake and squeezes the tail. So I did this for ages, and I was trying to get it right. And then all of a sudden, I squeezed it. Gosh, there you go, hemipenes. And and then I started going from hatchlings, which are easy to pop, to subadult male and females, which are easy to pop. But then you get a male who's like, no, I'm not going to show you anything. And you're squeezing and squeezing, but you don't want to squeeze too hard. But again, that's another thing, another little trick that I've sort of picked up along the way with other people's help in the hobby.
Yeah, I've got the hang of that now. I mean, last year I had a male, which at the time was the most I've ever spent on a snake. I got him in, and I tried to pair him. I probably tried to pair him a bit too young. But I was speaking to another breeder, and they were like, "Oh, anything over 400, give it a bash." So I was like, "Oh, all right then." So I put it in a few tubs with a few different females, and nothing happened. So I was like, "Right, I'm just going to double check and pop him," because I couldn't pop it properly. I was convinced it was a girl, and for ages, and then I had to go back and think, "Am I actually doing this right?" So I went back and watched a load more videos. I probably watched Billy as well, and so I went back and bang, 2 hemipenes. I was like, oh, thank God for that. He's maybe just a bit too small then. So I mean, we all learn like that. Yeah,
we do. I mean, I had a really good pairing, and I was kind of thinking to myself, this was like my splatter migraine project. I was going to pair an NC splatter migraine, the male, who's obviously he's produced amazing clutches for me, and I put him to what I thought was a female NC Fire, beautiful female NC Fire. And I put him in for the first time. And as I was walking around the room, I heard all of this banging. I was like, what the hell's going on? And I sort of followed it back to the rack, opened the tub. I was like, Jesus Christ. The water bowl was upturned. They were literally like having a ruck. And I was like, oh my God. And I knew straight away, I was like, shit. Yeah, God, this isn't going to work as a male. I mean, he's moved on because he became an animal that I didn't need because I have Enchi females, I have fire females. But that, and I didn't realise that because at that time I was just crap at popping and sexing animals. Yeah. So I just trusted the breeder to sex it properly and got it. And that's it. I mean, in the hobby we all put a lot of faith in a lot of people. When you buy an animal, you have to put the trust in that person that they've sexed it correctly or the genetics are right. And nowadays, because there are so many animals out there with 4, 5, 6 genes in them, there's not any real way of identifying them. It's madness. It's crazy. I've got animals in my collection now. Nothing that crazy. But certain things I've produced, I look at, and if I'm going to put it up on Morph Market or sell it to somebody, I won't call out the other genes I think might be in there. I'll sell it as something I can identify. And then, and then hopefully they'll get a nice surprise when they breed it, if they breed it.
Yeah. You don't want to be the arsehole who guarantees these morphs and they're not there, No,
well, exactly. And I think that's that's perhaps part of the dark side of the hobby. There are people who do sell things perhaps it's not. Maybe they do think that's just pessimism. Maybe they do think that the animal is what it is. Therefore, they kind of convince themselves that it is what it is, and it's just unfortunate because if you spend 2, 3, 4 years growing up that animal and it doesn't produce anything that's been kind of genetically told to you, then it's a bit of a kick in the nuts.
Yeah, definitely. So YouTube, when did you start YouTube?
That was an Adam inspired thing. So Adam was like, why don't you do YouTube? Come on, you do YouTube. You're good at talking. You never stop. Do YouTube. And I think I can't remember. My first YouTube was probably my first YouTube video. I think was about 9 months ago.
Oh, really?
It's something that I haven't done. I feel bad because people, all my subscribers have come on to watch my content, and I haven't done a YouTube video for 3 months. I haven't done anything. The new job and everything else. I shouldn't make excuses, really. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed kind of going on these road trips. And I think when COVID's over, perhaps I will get back to doing these. But at the beginning, Adam got me onto YouTube and said, you should do it. It's wicked. You've got cool snakes. You like to talk. You can, you can come out with me and we'll do a few road trips. And I did enjoy it. And I downloaded and I think I paid for Filmora 9, which was the program I used to edit my software. I mean, it's, it's basic, and I'm not exactly an IT specialist. So something like that was like, it's easy. It wasn't like opening Photoshop and just, crapping yourself because it's just so difficult. So I did the videos I've done, and they were great fun. But I haven't done anything, and I tell you why I've actually. I think partly, I've been very busy doing other things. I'm kind of putting time into just the animals and my family and my work. But also, I found Instagram, and Instagram is just like, you can put up a video, you can snap a picture, and you can just whack a picture up, and it's just a much easier format for me. I can be sat at work on my lunch break and go, I took 50 pictures of snakes this morning, so I can just whack a few up during the day, and that format seems to be a lot easier. And I mean, it probably took me an hour and a half to sit down on my computer. And actually get the video up, get the tunes, find the right music. And obviously my YouTube videos, if I was to ever, which I don't think I'm that particularly bothered, if I was to ever, for example, get, 5,000 subscribers, YouTube would be like, yeah, we can't use any of the music you've used because it's all just like fun tracks. It's all proper music. It's not...
I did notice that. I did notice like you had like chart music and stuff in your videos.
Exactly. And I'm like, part of me was like, okay, the idea behind that was perhaps what I could do is in my videos. I don't know I can't remember. I maybe have said it in one of my videos, but my idea was keep coming with the cool music. Keep kind of not having just normal clips of music, but just chart music or certain genre. And my initial idea was to have like every month was to have a couple of videos, and in those videos I would highlight that kind of music. But and I think in one of my videos I may have said, please feel like, please subscribe, but I don't want that many subscribers, so just just like the videos, that's fine by me, sort of thing.
It's totally honest.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think that was my way. I was kind of like,
I don't know. I'm a bit like you. I've done a few YouTube videos, but I don't know how people churn them out as quickly as they do. Like some people say like, oh, I'm doing 2 videos a week. I'm just like, how much, I don't have that much content. I don't have that much to talk about. I mean, it's fair enough. I've only got about 30 animals at the minute, but like, I just, and I don't want to repeat what everyone's talking about.
Well, you see, that's it. It's kind of, it's a subject that, when you're talking about, thinking about content for a YouTube channel or for any video content, for me, I think like you like yourself, it's about originality. It's about bringing yourself across as who you are. And I think I think that's important because, as you say, a lot of people tend to go, and it happens with things like ReptiChip, and I'm guilty. I did a ReptiChip video, and these sorts of things, you see the ReptiChip UK all of a sudden. Paul brings ReptiChip in, which was great, and I love the substrate. He brings that in, and then 50 people do a ReptiChip video on how good ReptiChip is and how to prepare it, which is fine because there's, people are followed by certain people, so you might not see someone else's. But I think for each of us who have an individual project or something different than other people, there's something else to offer. So if you have an animal you think is unique, you play on that animal, do a tiny bit of research if you have the time on the project or on that gene and where you can take it and what reacts well with it. And it's like, that's the fun of it for me. But I think I've gone, because I've not done a YouTube video for a while, I've kind of moved away from talking to other people about it. And with COVID, it's become a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And I just sit here and it's all in my head. It's going around in my head. Oh, what can I do with that? What can that produce? How powerful is that? I could, and I do, I go online like we all do, and I see pictures and YouTube videos, and I see amazing things, and in particular, a lot of sort of Justin Kabilka's clown animals, which I look at and I go, Jesus Christ, I need to get some, some Wookiee in my collection. I need to get a clown, spot those clown, but it's not as easy as that because, as we all know, it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I've sacrificed various other things. I've sacrificed motorbikes and a couple of other random things in my previous time to just go, you know what, I'm going to sell a motorbike and I'm going to buy myself a really nice snake. And then I'm not gonna go on holiday because of COVID, so I've got a bit more money, so I'm gonna go and buy a Wookiee and just it's just like really random things. But I wouldn't change it for the world, you know. I love the snakes. I love what I do. Don't know if I love sweating so much, but it's kind of like living in Asia again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's a workout, and you're just standing there.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell you what, I probably shed about half a stone. Yeah. Although I'm sitting here drinking bloody, I'm standing in a room drinking rum, a boiling hot room.
It's all lockdown weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I need to get myself back in the gym fast. But when they reopen.
Yeah.
So you're just saying about JKR's videos and Clown and that. Is that your main recessive you work with?
Yeah, I think it probably is. Obviously, Migraine has taken sort of, you know, not taken precedent or taken over, but I'd say Migraine has suddenly become on a level par with Clown, and as is very similar, because Migraine and Cryptic, there's this ongoing debate. Is Migraine the same as Cryptic? Cryptic is allelic to Clown. Migraine is allelic to Clown. I personally think they're exactly the same. They're just different lines. So I am working my Migraine into my Clown. I'm playing around with that. But yeah, I'd say sort of from the beginning, Clown was always my main recessive, but I obviously delved into Migraine. I've produced quite a bit of pied stuff, and I'm loving the pied stuff. Love the orange tree pied stuff.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, Clown will always be my kind of signature, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. So your room at the minute is. Would you want to expand anymore, or would you be able to expand anymore? Like room and size, like.
I think I'm actually, with the space I have now and the number of animals I have now, I think I'm very happy. I'm very comfortable. I can come in here on a Saturday morning for 3 hours and clean every single tub and mop the floor and wipe the racks down. And I can, and I'm really lucky. My wife wanted a greenhouse, so I built a greenhouse out to the exit to my snake room. So most of the year I can have that door wide open, unless it's Baltic outside. I can have the snake room door open and a nice sort of refreshing breeze coming through. But I think if I had any more animals than this, I think and I do recall at one point I had over 200 animals, and that's, you know, maybe 50 more than I have now. And as wicked as it was, I was just so flat out and I was so busy, and I just didn't seem to have the time to give every single one the correct amount of care it deserved. And to be fair, I did start to lose the love a little bit. I think it's something that people should always be conscious about. As much as it's amazing having shed loads of animals, it's you know, you've got to be aware that each one requires the, you know, fresh water and the correct humidity and temperature and unsoiled bedding, and it becomes a massive ask to look after hundreds of animals. Any big breeder will tell you that, but most breeders who've got anywhere over 300 will probably have a couple of young lads come in and do all the cleaning for them, because it's just too much, you know.
There's a fine line between I can just about cope and then I need some help. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You said you've got what, 100, 180, 70, 80
I've got just under 180. And I find that absolutely fine. But I tell you what, actually, even thinking about that, you know, my wife, her love of snakes has grown over the last couple of years. She loves that, you know, she loves breeding season, she loves the hatchlings, and she likes to look after them. So actually, you know, even thinking about it, I can come in here and clean these animals, but if I'm at work and she's got a day off work, she'll come in here and clean all the babies for me. So we have a good thing going on. I'm very lucky to have a wife who's willing to come in here, stick her latex gloves on, start shoveling shit out of tubs and cleaning snakes and tending water bowls, and she enjoys it. But as soon as they get to as soon as they get to sub-adult to adult, she's like, nah, I'm not picking that one up. I'm not going anywhere near that one. So then, maybe once a month, I only have to clean the adults, whereas the rest of the time she's cleaning the babies, which are kind of, they eat a bit more. They are cleaned, they're spot cleaned every 3 to 4 days. They're deep cleaned because these guys are on Lignosil. And Lignosil dries up a bit. If it dries up a bit, I always tip the water bowl, which always increases humidity. But then obviously you get a massive mess. And usually, I've got a selection of snakes who literally go, "Oh, look, empty water bowl," and just take a massive shit in it. So it's the cleaning's mad. But yeah, I can't deny I absolutely love it. I love every part of it.
Yeah. So you must spend an awful lot of time in there then with all them animals.
Yeah, it's my kind of go-to place. It's my getaway. I have a PC. I have a gaming PC which I don't use as much anymore. But every now and then I get online with my mates, and I don't play anything super special. I play World of Tanks, and I enjoy it. And it's simple. You just drive tanks around and blow crap up. But otherwise, I spend if I need time for myself or after work, I come in here in my work clothes, so I don't mind getting a bit dirty, and I'll just come in and spend a few hours in here with a beer. And it's nice, it's quiet, there's no noise. The only noise I've got is from I've got one group of rats in here, and that's it. One little group of rats with, I don't think we can see any of them. I'll see if I can move the camera. There's one little one down there. Oh no, you run away. So I've got a little group of rats in here. They're the only ones who make noise. They scuffle around. I've got mum and dad, and I think 11 little ones at the moment. And I'm looking at them thinking they're far too cute to cull for my snakes. So I'm going to try and move them all as pets. I'm going to try and be good.
Okay. Mind you, it's good to have them in there just for the scent on feeding day to get the snakes going.
Yeah. So I mean, I tell you, the royals I think are quite used to them. The only ones who aren't used to them are these two down here. So there's Medusa, my carpet python. You can't really see her.
Yeah, I can see
there's
her.
the carpet python. Yeah. So she's, you're right there, girly. There she is. She's lovely, but usually, I mean, she's had a bit of a feed recently. She, in the last couple of days. So when I feed her a large rat. She mullers it, and then she doesn't care about the smell. But usually on a day-to-day basis, you just see her kind of nuzzling at the corners where you can slide the viv open, because I reckon she can smell the rat.
Yeah.
And then the Brazilian rainbow boa, who I will definitely not be able to see because she's probably buried herself. She's the same. But then that's just boas. Boas just love their rats.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a question I was going to ask, actually, if you had any others species. And is there a species you would love to own that you don't?
To be honest, I have a kind of, I do feel like I'd love to own one venomous snake. I think for me, I would never want a room full of venomous snakes, but one gaboon viper in a beautiful vivarium, with lots of space, who and obviously who I was trained to look after. That for me, that'd be incredible. They have an amazing feeding response. Watching a gaboon viper eat is just mad. The way they strike their prey and they lift them up to that point where they're kind of upright and they're standing there just dangling this rat who's obviously going, "Oh Jesus, it's that," And they're kind of cool. They've got the most incredible patterns. They're beautiful animals. But obviously I have the carpet python, the rainbow boa, and I went to TA Exotics. I went to Adam's pet shop and I bought myself let's have a look, see if I can get him out. Okay, so this is Dave. Dave is a common boa. Got lignosil all over his head. So here's Dave. Beautiful little common boa. He's absolutely stunning. Little hatchling. And he's really, really nice. So when I went to Adam's shop, I thought, this is just a beautiful, beautiful snake. So I'm going to have to get myself a rather large vivarium for him at some point. But he's obviously he's not.
How big will he get?
I'd imagine he'd probably get to about 5.5 foot. He can smell the rats. You see, look, boas. He's a boa. He's literally like, where's that bloody rat? He'll get to about 5.5 foot, but he'll be an absolute chunk. Boas, red-tailed boas, common boas, they tend to get kind of, about that sort of size.
Yeah.
Pretty big, pretty chunky snakes. And he'll probably be the biggest one because the carpet python and the rainbow boa, I'd say the rainbow boa is maxed out. She's massive. She's about sort of 6 foot long. It's difficult to say. She's probably about as wide. No, not quite as wide as a glass, but about that. She's ready to breed, but I don't have a male for her. I've got a hatchling male who I picked up. But yeah, and I've got those in these vivariums down there, which seems to work for them. But I think if I put the royals in these massive vivs, they just stop eating and wouldn't be happy at all.
Yeah. So I must admit, one of the first trips out when we actually are allowed out would probably be to Adam's shop. I'm quite looking forward to going down there. How far away is he from you?
Well, he's down kind of Brighton way. So that's about an hour and 20 from me, so not too far. So I went down there the other day, ended up going seeing, and you probably know Darren Stairs. So I went to see Darren to get a bit of tattoo work done. Okay. And I thought on the way I'd pop in and see Adam, and I went down there. I mean, Adam's shop's beautiful. It's in a really nice little garden centre. It's the selection of animals he's got is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I stood outside, kind of staring into a red tegu's vid, going, I should buy that. I really want to buy that. Do you think my wife? I wonder if my wife would allow me a tegu. What would happen if I brought that home? And I thinking about how big they get and how voracious they are. I was like, no, I don't think my wife would even come in the snake room if I got one.
Yeah.
So I looked at him, and he had black and white, Argentinian black and white, and various boas and ball pythons and carpet pythons, and it was just as we all are. Anyone who's got reptiles who goes into a reptile shop, it's like you're like a kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
You put your blinkers on. It's like, I don't want to see anything. You don't have anything in here. It's empty. Thank God you're out of stock. And then you leave with a bag full of animals.
Yeah, even though you've left your credit card at home, like on purpose,
exactly.
you'll leave with animals. Yeah. It's a nightmare. So you've got your rats there. You breed your own Maltese as well, didn't you?
I did breed my own Maltese. So basically, I think because of my new job, because I want to put all my focus into, I think if I'd had the number of Maltese I used to have, which was 30 odd tubs, so in fact, it was this room with two racks either side and loads of spare tubs, and I had loads, and I cleaned my snakes, which was obviously a large collection, and then I'd have to clean the rats at the same time, because if I didn't, I'd go off and I'd go back to work, and I wouldn't have the time, and I'd be knackered after work, and I couldn't give them the care they deserved. So I decided to start buying in my Maltese, or sourcing them from rodent breeders. So there are various people I can tap up if I want a large quantity. And now I can kind of, I've got to go on a bit of a drive, go on a bit of a mission, and I can buy 200 frozen Maltese and bring them back. Or if I go to Simon at Ridgeway, I get myself all my rats from Simon. Every now and then he has a deal on Facebook for, a bulk buy of Maltese or rats. And I'll jump on it. I'll see it, and if I'm lucky enough to see it, I'll jump on it and buy it. But that's something that, if I had the time, and my job seems to just be evolving into something far greater than I thought it would ever be, therefore my time is becoming less and less. I mean, I hope, moving forward in the future, I hope I can keep a collection of snakes this big, but I will be completely prepared to reduce my collection if I have to make sure that I can give them the care they deserve. That's just something I think I'm very aware of. And if I feel I'm not giving them the care I can, then I have to sort of take the necessary measures to make sure I do, or give them new homes. But until that time, I'm going to keep increasing my collection.
So how long did you keep the Maltese for?
Sorry?
How long did you keep the Maltese for? How long were you breeding them?
So I guess about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. No, actually, thinking about it even longer than that, because I met Tony Hersey about 3.5 years ago, and at that time, I sort of, so maybe I guess it's 3 years, I started to build up a collection of snakes, and Tony said, look, you might as well breed your own rodents. You've got enough snakes. Why buy them in? So then I started breeding them. And at the time, my snake room was on the other side of the garden in like a little kind of garden shed, an insulated garden shed. So this garage was completely stripped down. So I bought one rodent rack in, bought another one in, I bought another one in. And at one point, my wife and I had 6 of those enormous rodent breeding racks full of bottles. So, I mean, we were breeding thousands of Maltese. And it was wicked, breeding them, 3 females in a tub, all of them with 20 babies. And then I was putting adverts on Facebook, and people were coming around and picking up 100 Maltese, and I was getting 100 quid for it. And it was kind of, it made sense, because I was being able to feed my animals for nothing, pretty much, feed my snakes for nothing. Yeah. But you soon get overwhelmed and you get too overexcited, and then all of a sudden I sell, I go, I'll get rid of one rack. So I sold one, then I got rid of another, then I got rid of another, and before you know it, I've got one left, which is in the garage, and it's empty at the moment. And I've got this one group of rats in a bigger tub. But I feel that, with hatchling season not too far away, what I'll probably do is get that rack recommissioned in the garage and it's got kind of foam insulation around the outside. So when it gets a bit warmer, it won't matter. But I'll put maybe 10 groups of multis in there, get lots of little multi-pinks, so that I do have a steady stream of very small rodents for my snakes.
Yeah. I started with Maltese. I started breeding my own Maltese, and it was going really well for about a year. And then I got maybe 5 or 6 different colonies going. And then I started with rats and realized how much easier rats are compared to Maltese.
Yeah, they are.
Oh my God. It's like, obviously the growth rate is a lot quicker. And I found the only reason I didn't start with rats is because people said they smell more, and I didn't really find that, because I use the little pellets, like all Urban uses, I think, and that's a lot better. But now I reduced my Maltese to one colony, which I knew bred well, and they were all set up. I was like, excellent, I'll just use these. And since I got rid of the rest, they've stopped breeding. If they do breed, they eat their little ones, and it's just an absolute nightmare. I'm thinking of like just getting rid of them and starting fresh with a whole new colony. But the rats,
sometimes they're like
rats are so much easier.
Yeah, I found that, and I totally agree. I think Maltese, if you get, I call it like a bad batch, I suppose. If you get a group of parents who, even if you give them the correct food, if you give them a perfect diet, you give them dog biscuits, layered pellets, goat mix, hamster food, vegetables, fruit and veg, even if you give them the perfect diet, some will just be like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to eat my kids, and it's kind of, it's a very weird thing, but it does happen. And I think a lot of people see it and go, Jesus Christ, this is dark, I don't want to breed Maltese anymore. But it does happen. I have had though in the past. I've had groups of Maltese who I've fed soy rolls, sour rolls. That's what soy rolls, soybeans, sour rolls, and they've been absolutely fine. But the level of ammonia in the room is much higher, and you don't get particularly strong grow-ons and particularly strong babies. So then I started the shift, and I ended up going to Dr. John Silver's dog biscuits, goat mix, and hamster food. And then I, take a carrot out of the bag from Sainsbury's and just chop the carrot up and chuck it in, chuck a couple of slices in each tub. It did seem to work. But yeah, then you get to a point with Maltese when you're breeding them, when you go, Jesus Christ, these bloody babies have been babies for about 3 months. What's going on? And when I think of the rats, this type of rats that I have here, Mom gave birth to them, Jesus, probably about 3 weeks ago, and they're all massive. They're all like wieners already.
Wieners, yeah, exactly. But the other thing with the Maltese is obviously with the rats, you could chop and change and chuck them in with different sex colonies. With the ASFs, you get two males that have been in together for a bit too long. Like, it's carnage. I was thinking something earlier. Yeah, like you come to the draw one day and like one of his face is hanging off. If fuck's sake, like
exactly, yeah. I suppose it's one of those things. You sort of I had that a lot when I was breeding thousands of them, where they've had a ruck and one of them's literally hanging off, and you add them to the list of the multis you're going to cull. So you stick them in your chamber and you turn on the CO2 and you're like, okay, well that's it. You're I'm afraid you're snake food because your face is hanging off. And it's it's difficult. I mean, a lot of my mates outside the hobby who know I have snakes and know I breed rodents or bred rodents on that scale are like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you breed that many, how you deal with the smell, how you look after all those animals.
Yeah.
And I try to simplify it and be like, look, well, it's my passion, it's what I do. And I say, well, why do you get in your Lycra and go cycling for 14 hours on a Saturday? And I get up in the morning and I'm literally like a cup of tea and stick a game on or something, But we all have our thing. We all have our little kind of our niche and our thing that keeps us going, keeps us happy. But whether we found it when we were young or found it when we were old, it just is one of those things. And that's what snakes are for me now. Is they keep me out of the pub. They stop me buying crap that I would normally buy online when I'm sitting having a couple of beers and I'm tipsy and I go, oh, I'll probably need that one day. Instead, I save my pennies and spunk my savings on desert ghost animals and other random things.
Yeah. I mean, the difference is your mates who are going out in their spandex, they're unless they're really good, they're not going to get paid for riding the bike. Pythons, you're basically, you don't have to spend your money on ball pythons because they pay for themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it is a fantastic hobby. There's so many, there's so many good points. There's always the odd negative thing about it. There's always someone who will try and bring it down, or someone who will try and kind of bash someone down. But I think it's the same in every hobby. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people out there with opinions that they believe in so much that they will try to make everyone else believe. But as long as each of us individually are happy in our scenarios, in our situations, then we should just carry on as normal.
Yeah. What's your most anticipated clutch this season?
I think my most anticipated, because I've got two pairings the same. So the Orange Dream Yellow Belly Het-Pied male to the Enchi Woma Het-Pied female. She's given me two clutches in the past. She's one of those females who'll just breed and feed and then get herself well over the weight and then breed again and give you a clutch. So that's not something I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I think and then the Enchi Splatter Migraine to a Pewter Splatter possible Het Migraine. I'm putting them back together again to just double check that she isn't actually a Het Migraine. So I'm hoping that will be cool. But I think my most anticipated, which is something that it's a relatively new gene to me, is my Leopard Malum Hidden Gene Woma Het-Pied male to a Mojave Malum female. So Malum is a gene which is basically Harlequin, and Harlequin is something that a number of European breeders, Marco in Holland is Marco Morphy. He's got some incredible Super Harlequin, Desert Ghost Super Harlequin, Super Pastel, Amur. He's got the Amur. Exactly. So he's got these incredible animals. He's got I think it's a Desert Ghost Super Pastel, Super Harlequin, Amur. And I mean that thing's it's €8,500. Stunning animal. Yeah. But with Malum being a similar gene, I think Nerd renamed Harlequin Malum because it's just another maybe it's just another money maker. And so I've got Malum. I got Malum from Sam Whitlock. I don't know if you know the name. He was in the hobby for a long, long time, and then left the hobby unfortunately. And he's an amazing guy. had the most incredible collection and brought the Malum gene in and bred it to a number of his beautiful beautiful leopard animals, and produced the most amazing babies. And I mean, they have a golden sheen to them. They're very, very unique, and they have these beautiful eyes. And I'll tell you what, I'll go and grab the Mojave Malum female and show you how ridiculous she is. I mean, I'm amazed at how bright she is and how stunning she's become. But if you imagine just a normal Mojave, and there is, I don't know if you can see that very well.
Yeah, that
is a Malum Mojo, bright as a button, just unbelievable sides, beautiful looking animal. But I think, and as far as I can tell, she's got 4 pretty decent follicles in her. So I'm going to put her back in her tub.
Yeah, but she's
stunning animal. She's absolutely beautiful. She's on my she's on my Instagram. I posted her a number of times. I think I posted her earlier this evening because I pulled her out of her tub and just thought, bloody hell, she needs to be photographed, and she looks stunning. So I think for me, that's probably my most exciting clutch, or my most anticipated clutch of the season. I've also paired the Enchi Splatter Migraine to an Enchi Splatter possible Het Migraine. If she proves Het Migraine, I'll hit some Super Enchis, hopefully. Super Enchi Migraines. And I mean, aside from that, and obviously the other clutch, which was a bit of a surprise, the Fire Yellow Belly female I bought from Tony Hersey. I paired her once to an Orange Dream. What is it? An Orange Dream Het Russo Disco possible Yellow Belly. So that's going to be, Disco Infernos. It's going to be a really, really cool clutch if he's the sire. But she ovulated after one time, one pairing. So, or one lock, I should say. So that was a bit of a shock for me. So I had to message Tony and be like, what did you pair to her? And she had the season off, but the previous season she was paired to a leopard, yellow belly, pied het clown. I'm like, oh God, please return sperm, please.
Yeah. Better than she was bred to a pastel. Bit better.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah. So it's cool. It's kind of,
Yeah, that's exciting. Who's the daddy clutch? Yeah. Well, I've got one clutch in the incubator in a minute, and that's a who's the daddy clutch. So that'll be quite exciting to see when that comes out. I've got a
They're
spider.
Nice, those clutches.
Yeah, spider cinnamon OD possible yellow belly. I paired to a yellow belly, and then I messed up and I put basically I was rushing for work. I thought I'll just chuck this male in quickly with this female, not even thinking about it. So I put a Enchi Orange Dream spot nose in, and I was driving to work and I was thinking, oh shit, spot nose and spider. I was like, fuck. So like, I was only out for about an hour. So as soon as I got back, I was like, right, I'll take him out, and they were locked. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, just typical. If I wanted to lock, they probably wouldn't have locked. But yeah, like I was rushing to get back, and they've locked. So what will be, I guess, and I'll live and learn. But
Well, it really depends, and I think I know of people who've paired an animal, paired a male to a female 5 or 6 times. Specific. So you say, for example, I think it was an Orange Dream Super Pastel Leopard, and I think the female was a Mojave. And once they put another animal in right at the end, like literally like 2 or 3 weeks before ovulation. And the last animal that's had one lock aside the clutch. So I mean, it is one of those things that the odd person does do it, and I think people do it if you have a beautiful female or a genetically powerful female, and you have equally powerful males. Some people are like, well, I've got some beautiful het clown or post het clown females, and I've got 2 stunning leopard het clowns that I produced last year. And I'm like, well, I could literally just put, because they're relatively similar genetics, so that might work. I could literally put one of them each in at a time, one month, one the next month, one the other month, one the next month, and so on. And there'd only be a couple of genes apart for me to be able to see who'd actually side the clutch. But some people do it. Some people kind of put them in and obviously hope for a dual side clutch. You know, in the wild world of breeding ball pythons, that can happen.
Yeah.
You know, and you do see some incredible results, but some people do it because they think it might work, and some people hit the jackpot when it does.
Yeah, it's always nice when that does happen. This year, I'm quite different. I'm just slamming my Desert Ghost Boy into everything. Quite.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. The way DG's gone, you know, DG is, and I'm kind of, I regret the fact that I never got into DG, and I'm very lucky from my point, you know, in my scenario, it was all about clown, it was all about pied, it was various other genetics I was bringing in to produce amazing animals.
Yep.
And it just happened by chance that I met Gareth from Clean Balls UK, who has the most incredible, like, you know, every tub you open, you're like, Jesus Christ, I need that. He's Ghost and Desert Ghost. He's got pied het Desert Ghost, Ghost het Desert Ghost, and it's just this phenomenal collection of animals. And we sort of came together due to him going away and needing somebody local to look after the animals. He messaged me on Instagram, and we've become really good friends. And I've been lucky enough to get a lesser fire het Desert Ghost from him. And because we're so local and we both have some quite cool animals, we're going to be doing some combined projects. You know, I've got the chocolate orange ghost, het Desert Ghost, and I've also got very, very lucky to be getting a male and female pair of super chocolate ghosts. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm going to be putting Ghost Desert Ghost, Migraine, and all these different projects that I have together over the next, 10 years, I suppose. And I'm not in a hurry. I don't power feed. I don't want to breed all the time. I'm not fussed about chasing to be the world, to produce world first. It happens when it happens. Yeah. It's just part and parcel. Weirdly though, I produced like 25 world first last year, but there aren't many people working with Migraine, so it wasn't a difficult one. But I didn't think to myself, I'm going to produce world first. I just paired the animals thinking these animals are going to be stunning. And I'm not going to take the time to email World of Ball Pythons to try and get them up on there because I'm not fussed. And I tried to do it before when I produced my first world first, which was a Mojave Soul Sucker Clown. And I sent it in to them and nothing happened. Then I sent it again and they sent me back a message saying, oh, there's been a problem with the email. And I'm like, you know what, sod it. You can't be bothered. I'm just going to leave it. So I never, someone will produce a Mojave Soul Sucker Clown. And I go, well, I produced one of them like 5 years ago. I've got pictures to prove it. And it's just one of those funny things. I mean, I'm not too fussed about rushing and trying to produce world first. I just want every single tub that I open in my snake room to make me go, whoa, and then shut it and then open it again and go, I've just got to have another look at that one. That's the thing. That's the thing for me. I should sort of, part of me should be aware that I do have to sell animals and I do have to move animals on. But, it's a funny old market. It's very up and down. You get a lot of people, get a lot of lowball, and you get a lot of people messaging you going, this animal's not worth that, blah, blah, blah. And I'd rather just cut out all that hassle and just, if I get on with somebody and I, like Gareth, like Tony, like a lot of people in the hobby, I'll happily give them an animal. I'll do a swap. I'll do a swap for an animal. It's not about lining the coffers for me. It's about keeping the hobby amongst me and my friends in the hobby. And with Brexit, that's become even more apparent because, I stupidly bought a yellow-bellied Desert Ghost male, and then Brexit happened, and it's going to cost me 350 quid to get that male to the UK.
Ouch.
So it's just an example of, that's a stupid maneuver on my part. But then I've had a number of discussions and conversations after that with people in the hobby in this country and saying how good it's going to be for the hobby in this country, in Britain as a whole, because we're now going to be looking to each other to enhance our collections. We're not going to be spending 350 quid on shipping an animal worth, maybe, all animals are worth something, but you're not going to buy a £200 animal and pay 350 quid to ship it.
No, I was quite fortunate. well, I say fortunate, unfortunate, whatever way you want to see it, but I bought a, what was it, a bongo het clown from Europe just before Brexit, and then when Brexit happened, the breeder got in contact with me and sort of said, like, it's going to cost you a lot more money to get it actually over there, and he was really cool about it. He refunded me all of my money back because I said, like,
Really?
it's just not worth it. He said it'll cost like £250, and then there might be more on top of that as well. He's not sure because everyone don't know at the minute. It's all so up in the air, and it will be for quite a while. But like you say, like the UK market is just going to get better and better, I think. And
there's a lot of good animals out there. There's a lot of good breeders, and I'm the same as you. I'm excited. I like the fact that although there are some incredible, some amazing people and incredible breeders across Europe and the Americas, that we're going to miss out on unless you're prepared to pay the massive amount of money added onto those animals, which in some cases people will.
Yeah,
I just feel like it's going to make the hobby stronger here. It's going to make us share more, and it's going to make it's going to kind of bring the community together a bit more. And I think that's what we have to do as a community. We have to realize the situation we've put ourselves in, and then we have to kind of move on from it and just go, right, you know what, this is it, this is the scenario, let's just crack on. If you know people in the hobby and you all share projects, fair enough. If you want to sell an animal, make the money from it, I have no issues with that at all, because it's another way of funding your hobby. But if you know somebody and you're on good terms and they've got something you want and you've got something they want, by all means do a swap. It's just gonna increase. It's gonna enhance everyone's collections. It's gonna make Britain, it's gonna make British breeders powerful in terms of what they can offer and what they have. And then maybe in the near future, when the situation for shipping and and the openness to move things around for a lot less becomes apparent, we're going to have people in Europe and in America coming to us for stuff. It's a distant thought, but I can see it being like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a gene you don't have which you'd like to add to your collection?
There's definitely there's probably a couple of genes I don't have I'd like to add, but I think the one that's most prominent in my mind and kind of most apparent to me when I think about genes I want to add is monsoon. And obviously I've seen a lot of really, really cool examples. I've seen, Justin Kabilka's working with it now. Billy's miraculously hit lots of monsoons from Pos hets.
Yeah.
And it's one of those genetics, and obviously it's it's very overpowering. It's a pattern distorter. It doesn't necessarily enhance color unless you add certain genetics. But because it's so untapped and there are so few people, obviously Dave Green, who founded the project, he has sold animals onto people, and there are a lot of people in America working with it, the big breeders who have lots of money, who can afford that kind of thing. But it's not it's just not affordable for me. I'm not going to spend that much money on a snake.
No,
because I just cannot justify it. I mean, obviously, what am I thinking? What's his name? Who founded the Stranger gene? Oh God, he's in Holland. I cannot. Oh, Roland. Yeah. So Roland, who founded the Stranger gene, has a gene which is, I think, possibly genetically identical, called Moray. So in Europe, we do have something very similar to monsoon, a very overpowering pattern gene. So it is there, but again, I'd imagine he's probably selling het or pos hets for 15 to 20,000 euros. And it's a gene that's, because it's so untapped, it's an impossible one to get into. The only way you can get into it without losing both your kidneys is to buy a couple of pos hets, and still you're looking at $2,000 a pop.
Yeah, and then you got to pay to get money.
Exactly, yeah. But if you do hit that jackpot, there's a chance that you're going to be one of the only people in the on the British Isles to have that genetic. But I mean, again, going back, like talking about genetics overall, I think there's a lot of stuff, and I had a conversation with a few people last week on a WhatsApp, that there's a lot of kind of hidden genes floating around. There's a lot of people in a lot of people's collections. There's a lot of things that are popping up. I've seen confusion pop up in people's collections they never knew they had. People with heckhound and pie animals are producing cryptics, and there's definitely, because there's a lot of animals that have come in from Europe and been bred, and a lot of hatchlings that I think probably go into a pet shop trade, who people are buying, and you go to Donny and you buy an animal that could possibly be this or possibly that, is increasing the chance. And with the pure volume of animals in the UK, the chances of having something peculiar in your collection without you even knowing it are quite high if you have a good number of animals.
Yeah, I know a few people with like random stuff in their collection. They're like, they show me and like, what do you think this is? And I'm like, I've got no idea. I think it looks like so and so, but the only way to tell is to breed it out again, and that again, it adds to the fun of this hobby. That's
right. Yeah, all these things take time. Proving genetics, taking the time to grow them up, to breed them out, to be able to. And I'm no expert, but I've learned over the years I've done it to sort of to understand and sort of identify traits of certain genetics and see where how to identify them, and if I can identify things in other people's collections. Whoever I go and see for other people, to look at other collections and see my buddies in a hobby, I will see an animal and go, don't you think that looks, wouldn't you think that might be so and so? Have you got this in your collection? Could you possibly have had that? And then it makes that person go, actually, where did I get the animal from? Okay, I got it from Bob, and Bob breeds this, but maybe it could be that. Maybe it could be this. I bought an animal in relatively recently from Rene, which is a spot-nosed ghost, a male spot-nosed ghost, and he's a very cool animal. He came from a pairing. I think the pairing was a hurricane spot-nosed to something else. So a hurricane spot-nosed ghost to a Mojave ghost or something. I'm not quite sure. And produced this really I'll get him out. This really funky-looking spot-nosed ghost. Hello, don't bite me, please. So this really, really funky looking, kind of quite dark spot-nosed ghost.
Yeah.
There's something about him that isn't quite, he's not just a spot-nosed ghost. He's not, I can't see hurricane. He hasn't got the hurricane characteristics, but he's just, there's something really strange about him. And again, it was an easy decision. I was buying a blackhead calico het ghost to go to my amazing blackhead ghost female to make super blackhead ghosts. And I was looking on Rene's list and I saw this spot-nosed male. It said spot-nosed plus something. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy it. And I ended up buying it, and I had a bit of an issue with the courier because I kind of screwed up. And Rene was great. He looked at the animals for a further couple of months, and we ended up getting them over here. And as soon as he arrived, I was like, what the hell's going on with that male? Something, he's just odd. So I'm going to grow him up, and he's going to...
When you said spot-nosed ghost, I had an image in my head, and then you shoot it. I was like, okay, that's way off what I was envisioning. I mean, there's definitely something going on there. That I'm intrigued to see what. I mean, being a male as well, you can breed him out a lot quicker as well, which is always.
Well, that's it. You see, and I think what I'm going to be doing over the coming I'd say over the kind of next 2 or 3 years, I'm going to be, because most of the babies I produced last year, I'd say probably 80% of them are holdbacks. There will be some that will be going over time, but it's difficult for me to sell them. But over time, they'll go. Some of them will go. Some of the adult females will go. And what I'm going to be doing is growing things on and really refining all of my projects, because I think it's so important. And I think the one thing in this hobby that makes you sort of, and not that I want to stand out from everybody else or be this super duper breeder who everyone looks up to, because I do this for myself. I enjoy it, I love it, but I do love the interaction with the hobby and people in the hobby. I want to enhance my collection. I want to do some really cool stuff. And I've thought about it, and I've thought about the way people perceive other breeders and look at other breeders. And there are certain breeders out there who breed desert ghosts. Certain people working on the ghost gene. There's the hurricane gene, the sapphire gene. There's all these different incredible genes that a certain person is working with, and it's kind of your signature. You know, people will look at a collection and go, well, that's what he works with. So if I want something like that, I can go to him and I can discuss it with him, because perhaps I have the experience of understanding the genetics and how it works with all the other, the combinations of other genetics. I think that, again, that's another way of kind of stand alone or to stand out in the hobby, if that's the way you want to be, because it enhances your possibilities of selling animals, people, and it increases your interaction with other people in the hobby, which I think is key as well.
Absolutely. So we're about an hour and 40 minutes in. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure.
I have one more question for you, which is the biggest question in the world. So, big scissors or little scissors?
Little scissors.
Little scissors. Right.
I have. Yeah. I'll get you my scissors. I have. Let me look if I can find them. I have various scissors in the room. Oh God, I can't. I don't even think they're in the blooming room. Hold on a second. I thought I had them in here, and no, they've blooming gone. So I've got a pair of scissors. They're sort of weird. They've got an angle to them. I don't know quite what sort of scissors they are. They've got a blunt end. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Got a very blunt end. Yeah. And they go to the dishwasher, sterilize them. They're absolutely fine. They are razor sharp. But what I tend to do is, once the animal, if a snake is pipped, I can put these in. I hold the egg and I don't even cut. I just run. They're really sharp. I just run them along the egg.
Yep.
And all I ever do when I cut is I just do a little kind of semicircle, if you like, just a curved line, and that's it. And you could squeeze either end of the egg, and it will open up slightly. And I'm guilty of cutting sunroofs in eggs a couple of times, but after doing that, I'm like, actually, I don't really want to do that. So I do a little slit. But those are one of the pairs of scissors, and there's another pair of scissors which are like something you get in a Christmas cracker. They're about that big. Yeah, and they're the same. They've got rounded edges, and they work really well. Yeah. So
I've asked that question twice, and both times people are like, "Oh, I've got a collection of." Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Good. Anyway, man, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Been a pleasure.
Might get you back on when the season's done, so you show off all your hatchlings and whatnot.
Wicked. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Yeah. I'll be happy to do that. Yeah.
Excellent, mate. One more question. Right. Anyone else you think I should get on who could be really interesting to chat with? Someone maybe.
I tell you what. I think you should get Darren Hughes from Neighbours Constrictors.
Yes.
Get him on, because that guy has got a heart of gold. He's got so much knowledge. He's got so much experience. Yeah. He will talk about everything so nicely and so well, and he's a lovely bloke. You can't find a nicer bloke in the hobby. So I would highly recommend Darren. Who else would I recommend? Let's just stick with Darren for now. I want to see him on.
It's definitely in the pipeline. Definitely.
He's someone I would come straight online to watch.
I absolutely. I probably put Darren on. And just sit here and be silent, and he can just talk for days.
I'll love it.
No time available when I get him on. But no, Eddie, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I'll catch you soon. Catch you later.
Take care, mate. Take care.
Wicked guys, thanks for joining. If you haven't done already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I say, 250 subscribers, and I'll be giving away some merch. And then I think that's about it, guys. I will catch you again hopefully next week. Stay tuned, stay connected to my Instagram. That's where all the news will happen. Twisted Royals and the Snake Room podcast on Instagram. I do have Facebooks for both, but don't really use them a lot. It's Facebook. So anyway, guys, I'll catch you later. Cheers.